Trees are like human beings. They much prefer company. And yet, they still don't come to my parties. Now, although I may not look like it, I'm actually a bit of a tree hugger. I think trees are great. I'm not sure what they think about me, but actually I stopped expecting them to hug me back a while ago. We stay together for the good of the children. No, because we need trees, don't we? We need them for the good of the environment and the things that they can provide us with, like food and energy and materials. And that's just as true now as it's been throughout history. After all, none of us would be here right now if our ancestors had not been able to get wood when they needed it. Now, I work for the Centre for Wood Science and Technology, and we do all sorts of various research aimed at increasing the number of trees grown in the forest. And the one thing that all these bits of research have in common is that they involve cutting down trees. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking that that's not very fair on the trees, even if we do give them a 30-second head start. But the thing is, if we have a responsible market for wood, well, that encourages people to look after the forests, and then we can all have wood forever. Now, I don't know how much you know about wood, but it comes in two forms: hard and soft. And the difference is to do with sex. You see, because the hardwoods, the broadleaves, these are the trees that reproduce using flowers, just like human beings do. Whereas your softwoods, your conifers, they're the ones that reproduce with cones, like motorways. Now we don't have big forests by European standards, but we could make better use of the trees that we do have. Now, most of our commercial forestry is actually based on non-native species, which a lot of people don't like. Foreign trees from Bongo land to North America. But actually, when it comes to softwoods, we don't have a great deal of choice, because there are only two softwoods that are native to the UK. We have the yew, which is very slow growing, and we have the Scots pine, which was officially voted recently by the public to be the national tree of Scotland. That's right, our official national symbol is a penis. I should probably explain. The Latin name for Scots pine is Pinus sylvestris. The first part is the genus, Pinus, pine. It's actually the same word, but pine comes to us via the French. Pin, meaning prick. It's fine. And it is. Believe me, this is not an ideal tree for hugging. Unless you are very, very careful. At the very least, you have to put some clothes on. The second part is the species, sylvestris, which means of the forest, just to distinguish it from all the other types of pine trees that there are. There are, of course, other pine trees. There's Pinus wangii, for example. I saw one of those just the other day down the park. Actually, I lied a bit back there. There is one other conifer that is native to the UK. That's the common juniper. And the common juniper comes in two forms, erect and prostrate. But even the erect form is too small to be of any interest to me. So back to pine, Pinus. Actually, the word Pinus should not be confused with the Latin word that is the root for words like pen and pencil and penicillin, which is the Latin word for a small tail, penis. So there's Pinus and Penis. Be very clear of the difference. One of them has an eye in it at the front end, and that's the one I'm talking about. Actually, it reminds me of an idea I had for a joke. So an English elm, a Welsh oak and a Scots pine start growing in a barn. And you're probably wondering where I'm going with this tree-based nationalism. So am I. They're trees. We have to wait 30 or 40 years for the punchline. See, that's the thing about trees. They take a while to grow. In some fields of forest research, you could be retired by the time anyone finds out that you made a mistake. And if they find out sooner, well, forests are excellent places to hide their body. So, how do foresters of the past know what kind of wood we're going to be interested in the year 2014? Well, that's where my research comes in. See, when I wake up, the first thing in the morning, the first thing I think about is wood. But what makes good wood? Well, that depends on what you want it for. Maybe you want something strong. Maybe you want something hard. Maybe you want something that lasts a long time. Nailed to an outside wall. And trees, wood, comes in many varied forms. Even within a single species, there is a lot of variation from tree to tree, because trees really are like human beings. Some of them are just shit. So it should be possible, in theory at least, to go up to a tree in a forest and say this one is good for paper, or fence posts, or bioenergy, or construction. Now, in the past, foresters were mainly just concerned with the size of their wood and how quickly they could get it. But in actual fact, girth is not the only thing that matters. You see, because if you're planning an erection, you're probably interested in things like stiffness. Stiffness is a measure of how much something bends under load, not to be confused with strength, which is how much load something can take before it breaks. Now, wood is an ideal building material, as long as what you want to build is a tree. If you want to build something else, well, you have to be able to predict strength and stiffness, and that's not so easy. Now, there's a saying that goes that if the only tool you have is a hammer, all your problems start to look like nails. That is not true, because there are a lot of things that you can hit with hammers that aren't nails. I, for example, have a science hammer. This is not it. This is my teaching hammer. No, I don't use it for hitting students. That would be stupid. Turns out that actually makes them forget things. This is my science hammer, and it differs from my teaching. No, my teaching hammer, and it differs from my science hammer in one important respect. I don't have to sign this hammer out of the laboratory. Now, the thing is that stiffness can be used to predict strength, and stiffness can be measured non-destructively. And one technology for doing this is acoustics, because the speed of sound in the material is a function of the stiffness and the density. And the easiest way to do this, and you can do it at home, is simply to bash your wood. And listen to the sound it makes as it resonates. And from that sound, specifically the frequency, you can calculate the stiffness. And that allows you to sort bits of wood, and indeed trees, into grades, good and bad. And that is what I do. Literally, that is what I do. I hold down a research post at Edinburgh Napier University while someone else hits it with a hammer. Thank you very much.